during this difficult time. Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Bates?
Here.
Ms. Dahl? Here. Mr. Philippos?
Here.
Ms. Harvey excused. Mr. Kenders?
Here.
Ms. McLaren? Here. Mr. Yough?
Here.
Mr. Devine?
Public comment on agenda items only. I don't think there's any student reps.
Not this week.
Superintendent's report.
Okay, under superintendent's report, next week I'll have some congratulations. We're going to do congratulations on grants, our January student Rotary Students of the Month, our Reflex Math Grant winners. We received a grant from the Career Readiness Impact Grant. Also, our Math and Science grant we received, and a Donors Choose grant. So I'll do all those congratulations next week. Informational items. Obviously, the science fair will be coming up February 27th, so we'll talk a little bit about that next week. H.W. Good Elementary was recognized and designated as a Title I distinguished school, and they were recognized at the conference last week, so we'll talk a little bit about that. I believe we will do a budget performance report next week, as well as report out on our monitoring for the biology keystone exam. So other than that, that's all the informational items I have, and we do not have any presentations this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Sarden. Under budget and finance, under item 1, approve the board minutes. Any questions? Approve the treasurer's report for January 2020. Approve the general fund bills for payment in the amount of $691,831.58. Cafeteria bills in the amount of $87,534.15, and payroll $1.214,274.15 for a total disbursement of $1.993,639.88. Any board questions?
But I wanted just to scroll through these bills real quick because I thought I had a question about a couple. Can I have a second?
Sure.
Sorry, people. Pleasure.
Thank you.
This would be plumbing and HVAC. It was $27.65. It's, I don't know, what, page 4?
Yep.
What was that for?
That was for a part for the, at least it can answer better to that. It was for a part for the boiler, and it was a specific part rated specifically for that original install. So you can give a more detail.
A boiler at what school? It seems like we have lots of bills for boilers.
Here at the high school, we added a domestic hot water boiler. And for the old boiler that there's 2, we always run redundancy in commercial buildings. So for the old boiler and the new boiler to communicate with each other, this controller takes over, so it keeps the water tempered, so there's no chance of scalding or anything.
Okay, thank you. There's another one, next page down, the U.S. Department of Education. It says garnish, et cetera, $113.90.
Those are, anytime you see a garnish, that is wages that are taken directly out of an employee's paycheck to give back to a certain entity, whether it's for taxes, it can be some form of alimony or child alimony or something
Okay.
like that. That's what
Thank you.
any garnishes are.
Okay. And this Crown Castle fiber, can you just highlight what that list of all those payments are?
Crown Castle Fiber is the connections of our internet between schools.
Okay. So is there one for each building?
Yes.
Okay.
And the stadium.
And what about
No,
this?
not this.
It's not for the stadium, just the buildings.
Johnstone, is that Johnstone Supply? A Univent blower wheel. What was that for? And a motor repair.
All of our rooms within our district, if you know, and even in the classrooms have univents in them. And I can tell you that we spend a great deal of time upkeep and repair of those. So those would be parts to repair those univents within the classrooms.
So are we on to some kind of maintenance schedule for that, or we just wait for it, something to go wrong and then we?
We do it.
I don't know, I'm asking.
We do a maintenance schedule on a lot of our things within the building, including the univents as far as filters and changing and cleaning out. Like we do that specifically in the summer and then also during the winter months. And then obviously throughout the year, you'll see that things, you know, belts will break, motors will break, and then we do have to replace them. But we do our normal maintenance repair and making sure we do our best to upkeep.
Do you know how many instruments that we own here at Yough?
An exact number?
No, I'm just saying in general. So if something breaks instrument-wise, the district then is responsible for those repairs, like a trumpet repair, et cetera?
Yeah, we have some that are owned by the district, and I can tell you that some families own their own.
Okay.
And when the ones in-house break, we do repair them. So that would be an in-house instrument that would be repaired, not outside.
iPad accessories, do we know who that was for?
That was specifically for the PA Smart Grant. It was, I believe, covers for the iPads. iPad cases and accessories was for the PA Smart Grant, which is a grant that we got through the state to enhance our computer science curriculum K-12.
So we get reimbursed that amount?
We do. And a lot more than that because it is the PA Smart Grant, so it also includes training for our professional staff as well.
Okay. Nobody had any other questions on any of the bills that we're paying this month? Okay. No man standing. That's all I got, thank you.
Secretary's report.
Under Secretary's report this evening, we held executive sessions prior to the meeting for personnel and litigation. Next week, we will have 4 items on the agenda for approval policy-wise. Motion to approve policy 233, suspension and expulsion as amended at first reading. The second one is motion to approve policy 626, federal fiscal compliance as amended at first reading. The third one is motion to approve policy 610, purchases subject to bid quotation as amended at first reading. And number 4 is policy 335, Family and Medical Leave Act at first reading. So policy 1, the changes in that policy are specifically related to the compulsory school attendance age changing during the next school year. It changes from age 8 to age 6. So those are the updates to the policy based on that change. The 2 and 3 in the middle are specifically related to the bid thresholds as far as what you have to do to bid out, and you'll see those numbers in the policy of 11.3. And Jim, what are the other ones? Do you know what they are off the top of your head?
0 to 11,300, you don't have to do anything except in purchase. 11,300 to 21,000, you have to get 3 written quotes, and anything over 21,000, you have to do the formal bid process.
And then the family medical leave, that is just a change in the statutes and state laws, and that just updated our policy to make sure we're in compliance with that. Other than that, that's all we have for Secretary's report. Are there any questions?
Professional employees, approve the following names to be added to the list of substitute teachers below. Approve the following names to be added to the list of emergency substitute pending certifications. Acknowledge the FMLA request for employee 958 effective approximately February 12, 2020 through April 12, 2020. Any board questions?
Jan, could you give a brief description of the difference between a substitute teacher and an emergency substitute teacher?
Yeah, I can tell you that we as a district, because of the lack of substitute teachers, there's a number of different substitutes we employ. So when we say list of emergency substitute teachers, those 3 people are finishing up their student teaching and are on the verge of getting their certificates. So they are able to start as soon as they're done or as soon as they receive their certificate. The first 2 on there, we also offer a program where we do training and we hire people that are bachelor degree certified, meaning they don't necessarily have a teaching certificate, but have a bachelor degree. And people with a bachelor bachelor's degree are able to come into the school and do substitute teaching. What we do with those people is they come in and we actually do a 2-day very specific training on how to be a substitute teacher, give them strategies, talk about behavior management, and do a number of different things, as well as we do a day and a half of observation within the district to kind of get them accustomed to what substitute teaching looks like. That program has proven to be very effective over the last year. We probably right now on our substitute teacher list, I want to say, have, give or take with these, somewhere between 8 and 10 bachelor degree certified people that are able to come sub. So that's the difference.
And I'm assuming number 1 and 2 also, I know you have pending certificates, but I would guess clearance is
Oh,
also.
they, correct, they are not allowed to come without clearance.
No, I figured that, I just didn't, I wanted to clarify that. so.
Yeah. And a lot of times on here, if you don't see it saying pending clearances, that means we already have them.
Any other questions? Under classified employees, approve the following names to be added to the list of substitute secretaries. Acknowledge the FMLA request for employee 2337 effective approximately April 26, 2020 through June 21st, 2020. Accept the resignation of Mary Kramer, nurse assistant at West Newton Elementary, effective February 14, 2020. Approve Mary Kramer to be added to the list of substitute nurses. Any board questions? Under athletic activity, pending advancement, approve the swimmers and coaches to participate in PIAA swim championships at Bucknell University from March 11th through the 13th, 2020. Costs to come out of the athletic travel account. Pending advancement, approve the wrestlers and coaches to attend the PIAA Wrestling Championships in Hershey, PA from March 5th through March 7th. Costs to come out of the athletic travel account. Approve the following as volunteer baseball coaches. I think that gentleman, James Schaefer, is S-H-A-F-F-E-R.
Okay.
Approve Aaron Morgan as the high school volunteer track coach. Any board questions? Your district operations, request permission for Rebecca Hasbrook and 2 students who qualified for the state competition to attend the FBLA State Leadership Conference in Hershey, PA on April 6th through the 8th. The approximate cost of the district will be $870. Motion to approve the educational services agreement as per student IEP between the Greater Latrobe School District and the Yough School District as presented. Approve the resolution calling for the charter school funding reform. Are there any board questions? Board reports, WIU 7, and WIU 7 Legislative Council. Steve?
Yeah, so I went to my first meeting with WIU. Basically, they just went over the preliminary budget format. They'll present the final in February to be voted on. One of the other topics that they did discuss, and I'm gonna take a second and read this, I have a brochure here, is the Westmoreland Intermediate Unit is hosting the Pennsylvania Association of Intermediate Units statewide conference in May. The theme of the conference is centered on Mr. Fred Rogers and his emphasis on kindness. As a team building activity, conference attendees will assemble backpacks containing hygiene, personal, and comfort items. Their goal is to distribute 1,000 backpacks to homeless children within Westmoreland County and across the Commonwealth. So I talked with Dr. Sarden, and anybody that wishes to make a donation, if you said they can bring it right here to the school.
Yeah, if they bring it and just either give it to me or Sarah, we'll hold it until you go out.
And then
you can
February
take it.
25th, the deadline is March the 1st, but the next meeting is February 25th, so I'll take them there personally if anybody has anything to donate. They're taking either a monetary donation or some of the following items: small journal, notebooks, pens, deodorant, bars of soap, toothbrushes, tubes of toothpaste. So it's basically a good thing that they're doing for some homeless kids in the county. So if anybody's interested, they could give, Dr. Sarden anything, and I'll make sure that it goes to the next meeting. Okay? That's all.
Thank you, Steve. CWCTC report. Sandy?
I have no report.
I can, see, you were sick in the last meeting. I can give a brief report under CWCTC because I was the superintendent of record this month over there to go to the meeting. I can tell you that the audit presentation was done by Zelenkovsky and Axelrod. The report was shared to a board. They did have one material weakness, and it was directly related to a virus that they received due to a treasurer's report that infected the system. So the auditor just said that you need to make sure you have internal controls in place, of which they've already resolved. So that audit was presented. I can tell you they named First National Bank and First Commonwealth Bank as their depositories for the 2021 school year. Their first day, they approved the school calendar. Their first day of school is August 24th, which I believe is the same first day as ours, so that's kind of nice. They hired a new business manager there. His name is Chris Hilaire. They hired him at a salary of $70,000 for 5 years pending clearances. He had previous experience at the Department of the Auditor General, and I do believe at one point in time, Hilaire, yeah. He actually, at one point in time, I do believe he came here and did, whether it was our transportation audit or one of our audits here in the district. So he was hired to be on board. There were a couple conferences, the ProStart individual as well as the Skills USA for conferences coming up in February and also one in April in Hershey. Other than that, tour season has begun over there where schools are going and they're able to visit some of the shops in order to encourage enrollment. The NOCTIs, which is the testing that they take to the CWCTC, is coming up in March. And obviously the principal's doing a great job showcasing student work. They're still doing adult education coordination, so they still have a list of courses that they're offering to adults after school hours. As far as maintenance items, the heating system actuators were replaced, their Wi-Fi's been improved, and they approved, I believe they approved at the meeting, quotes to upgrade their servers and infrastructure to make sure that they have what they need for the kids to be successful. Other than that, there wasn't a solicitor's report that night, so that kind of gives you an idea what happened at that meeting.
Well said, Rex.
I have a question, if I could just back up one thing for the IU. I was reading the report that was sent, and for the E-Academy and the teachers that go through the E-Academy, and it said that their salary and all of that was attached, but I couldn't find the attachment. Who's responsible for their salaries that all go through the E-Academy?
So I can tell you that a lot of those teachers are actually teachers from individual school districts that filter into that E-Academy program. So some of our teachers teach for E-Academy. It is paid through the Westmoreland IU budget. We do pay a tuition cost for kids.
So when do they teach?
After school hours.
So it's after school?
Yeah, it's after school hours, evenings, weekends, because it's online.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where, it said see attachment for all the salaries, but there was no attachment.
For the report, I don't know if they would send that just because of confidentiality, but I'll double check.
It had all their names and everything, it said to see the attachment.
Okay.
And there's also been a
I'll check.
substantial increase for each of the districts having to pay to the IU. So is that something that we were aware of, or did we just wait for them to publish that? And,
I can answer that.
I mean, I don't know if anybody read that report, but it was pretty
I
detailed.
was there, and at the last meeting, they discussed that. It hasn't yet been, it's just a proposal right now, so that's why I didn't even bring it up.
Oh, okay, I'm
Until it's-
sorry,
Until it's actually,
it
at the
looked like
next
it was a
meeting,
final,
the next
okay.
meeting will be finalized, and then I'll present it to everybody if
Okay,
that's the
thank you,
case.
okay,
But
And I'll
there is a proposed increase if it does go through, so.
okay.
I'll double check the salaries on that too, because maybe Sarah got that attachment and didn't include it, but let me verify.
Yeah, I was just curious, I just
I'll
wanted to look
verify.
through and see if, is that something that, if there is an increase that was already put in our budget for this coming?
We're still building our budget for 2021, but we would include that in.
But like last year's budget, we already had some kind of leeway in there for any kind of increase, or?
The increase that Mr. Kenders is referring to will apply to next year's budget.
Our current budget year
Our current
increase was
budget.
2.9% this year.
Do you know how much of an increase they had last year?
It was a decrease.
I have,
Okay,
you want
okay.
to know, I have the numbers.
No, that's okay, I
Right
just,
here.
I
didn't
had a
present it
note,
because
and
it
I
wasn't-
was reading
okay.
through, and I didn't know, I didn't have anything to compare it to. Okay, that's fine, thank you.
PSBA representative, Ken Page.
I would request everyone to read over the resolution calling for charter school funding reform. We'll be voting on that next week. It's very important that all the districts do this, just basically so the state legislator knows how it affects us. And that we are, wish them to not send us the bill for the charter schools anymore. And that's my report.
Thank you, Ken. YEA report. Committee reports.
You, if you can, Greg, you want to report on anything on the athletic committee? Obviously, there's a voting item tonight under voting.
There is a voting item, would you like me to just read that as a motion?
How about, you want to just wait, we'll do that under voting item. Anything from the committee you want to report?
The committee met, 2 weeks ago, and, it was in regards to the varsity football coach. We had met the week before that too, in regards to the varsity soccer coach, which has already been put in place. And at tonight's meeting, we'll be voting on the varsity, head football coach.
Thank you, Greg. Anything under old business? Under new business, we have letters of application for the Public Budget Committee. We received 3 names: Linda Canor, Nancy Bickus Neal, and Alan Fossey. And the board has agreed that we accept all 3 names for that committee. And I believe Mrs. McLaren will be in touch with dates.
We should have the dates for the next meeting of when that committee will meet, at least some tentative dates for March, I believe, so.
Under solicitor's report, I have no report.
One other under new business, Jim, do you want to touch anything on the governor's address today? Maybe a couple highlights for the governor's address? Because the governor did present his budget proposal. Obviously, those budget proposals changed from the initial proposal on, but some increases in some of the special education, some of the basic education funding. I don't know how generous they'll be us as a district, but Jim can give you just a real quick overview of that.
So I did sit through Governor Wolf's budget today. 2 new programs that he wants to make part of this budget is a college scholarship program to basically curtail some of the debt for state universities only. His second program that he wants to implement is to require all public school districts to offer a free full-day kindergarten, which we already do here. As far as the money, you will see the number roughly a little over $400 million put into public education. I will be cautious of that. That will change from now until June. But the $435 million that he's talking about is basically $100 million into the basic ed funding formula, $25 million for special ed, $30 million for early childhood education, and the bulk of it, roughly about $280,000, is a savings in regards to a new charter school reform that he wants to put in. Mr. Bates made reference to the resolution, which will go a long way. Basically, he wants to do a complete overhaul on how charter schools are handled and funded in Pennsylvania. So that, as far as public education, that's the highlights of, well, let me touch on 2 other items. He did try to last year, that didn't get support through legislation, to increase the minimum wage for teachers to $45,000 annually. That did fail last year, but he does have it as part of his budget proposal for this year. And he is trying to get support of a $1 billion grant application process for the public school districts in Pennsylvania to address building needs, specifically lead and asbestos and mold in buildings. It's just a question whether he'll gain support with the legislators on that issue. I will tell you, in looking at the basic ed numbers for Yough, and again, these are temporary, preliminary numbers. I will be attending the statewide business managers meeting on Thursday to look at these numbers further. But for Yough, the increase in basic ed funding that was presented today was a $58,000 increase, and for special education, it was a $30,000 increase, which is less than 1% of both of those. But I'll get better details on Thursday.
Jim, question on the charter schools. Currently, is that bill for the district over 800,000 or?
It is $799,812.
That's a projection for the current year.
Projection for the current year. Last year, we were at that same amount, $799,262.
Looking at approximately 62 students.
Pretty expensive. Any other questions? Thank you, Jim. Citizens' comments.
No, Bucky Croucher, Smith NPA. One of the questions last week was as far as the insurance for the high school track league. So had them send out what the, the insurance is for the league. And then also, they can provide a rider to have the school as the additional insured. That's a $50 cost, which we would pay for it our own selves. Again, would like to have the board to, discuss it and bring it up so we can have, the track team here at the Yough School. It's something, there's a lot of kids that are interested in it. They want to be able to support their, not support the school, but compete as a school event. They take pride in their school. Last time we had 40 kids signed up to go and shoot it, and that was just out of the gate before we had really advertised it. I know there's been a question coming up to go in and join the interscholastic shooting team, which is kind of a different setup. You shoot, as a club, you don't represent a school. We proposed that to the kids that were already shooting last time. They wanted no parts of it. If they can't represent their school district, they didn't want, to do it. And that one is set up different. The shooting time frame is different. It's a longer shoot and everything with it. I know I have information on it, and I know they don't give costs in their pamphlet and everything, but Drake is going to participate in the sporting clays team down at Hunting Hills. The registration is $140, plus the $25 for the insurance. And then practice birds are they're $5 a round. And then 4 of the actual shoots that he goes to and competes, they're not national events or anything, but you pay for separately. One of the shoots is $25, 2 of the other shoots cost $35, and the other one costs $55 to participate in. And that's their weekly shoots. So I think to put that burden on any of the other, students, I don't think that's fair. The club we're shooting at, the actual cost of when they shoot their competition weeks, which is $50 for the 5 weeks, the club is going to pick up the cost of the rounds. That part of it's free. If they shoot practice any of the other weeks, it's $250 a round. There's, I think, a big financial difference too. But I know that was one of the, questions that, has come up, looking into other clubs. So I don't know if there's, any more questions right now as far as about the information I passed out last week.
I think what we're looking for, maybe Greg, you can elaborate on it, you're pretty in depth on this, is we need a game plan from you, basically.
Okay.
The board can't present your game plan for,
Yeah.
Gary, is that correct?
That's correct. We recommend maybe you contact Mr. Brooks, who's involved with the Connersville program.
I have.
He put a pretty good program together up there, has it written out, that if you may want to talk to him, get some advice, bring back for the next meeting if possible, a program like he has written out.
Safety program, we had one written up last time, it's first time we did.
If we get all that news there,
There's coaches.
right, we want to know.
In depth.
Yeah, who the coaches are, you know, what the plan is, where you're planning on to shoot, when, and then I think the board would be willing to consider moving forward.
Okay.
But I think the only reason I mentioned talking to Mr. Brooks, I think he's helped, he's not only put a program together up there, he's helped some other schools, so he'll have it all written out, might make a little bit less work for you guys.
Certainly. I'll tap them on that.
I did agree to help reach out to Mr. Brooks as well
And he does have the questions you forwarded from me that I sent you a couple weeks ago, so I have spoken to him as well. So I know that he would be happy to put a comprehensive plan together, but we need that.
Okay.
We'd like it, if possible, so the board could review it before the next meeting. So the more time I think we all have, then we can ask questions, or pass a motion, or, you know, I think at that point, once you present something back,
Certainly.
And he knows exactly what kind of plan, because he did the same plan for Connellsville.
Yes.
You know, I've seen that plan, it has to be in-depth, who's doing what, where, when, how. But we've talked to him as a guy, so I think that he could assist you with that.
Certainly.
anybody else have any questions?
Okay.
Any other public comment? No other public comment, we will get to the voting item. Approve as the varsity, I need a motion to approve someone for the head varsity coach.
So you might want to fill in.
Oh. Yeah.
Anyone.
Yeah. I need a motion to approve Chris Chunko as the varsity football head coach, pending clearances.
So,
Motion by Mr. Nogie, need a second.
second.
Second by Novacek, any questions? We'll do a roll call vote.
Thank you.
Page,
No.
Dahl. Yes. Hardly absent, Kenders,
Yes.
McLaren,
No.
Nogie,
Yes.
Novacek,
Yes.
Newlander,
Yes.
Philippos.
Yes.
6 yes, 2 no, 1 absent, motion passes.
Need a motion to adjourn.
Kenders.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Second by Novacek. All in favor, aye.